a company valued at $47 billion, billions in losses every year, a CEO who smoked weed on private jets, did tequila shots in investor meetings, and convinced the world that renting office space was about elevating consciousness. This is WeWork, and it's one of the most spectacular flameouts in Silicon Valley history. The story begins in 2010 with Adam Neumann, a 6'5" Israeli entrepreneur who'd spent his teenage years on a kibbutz. After moving to New York, he met Miguel McKelvey and founded WeWork with a $15 million investment. Their first location opened in Soho, Manhattan in 2011. The concept? Rent office space, wholesale, divide it up, add free beer and ping pong tables, and sublet it to startups at a premium. Here's the thing, this wasn't remotely innovative. Co-working spaces had existed for years. Companies like Regus had been doing it since 1989. But Adam Neumann had something they didn't: the ability to sell a story. Neumann didn't call WeWork a real estate company, he called it a tech company building a physical social network. He talked about elevating consciousness and changing how people work. He walked around barefoot, blasted Rihanna, and kept a smoke eater in his office to mask marijuana fumes. Investors fell under his spell. WeWork launched at exactly the right time. After 2008's financial crisis, venture capital was desperate for the next big thing. Tech companies were being valued on growth potential, not profits. Neumann positioned WeWork as the next Amazon, when in reality, they were just middlemen signing long-term leases and hoping to fill them. And then came Masayoshi Son. The billionaire founder of SoftBank had made his fortune with an early bet on Alibaba. Now he was running the $100 billion Vision Fund. In December 2016, Son had a scheduled 2-hour tour of WeWork.
Of the office expense goes down on the average like 40%. So from CFO point of view and CEO point of view, it's great to have 40% reduction in cost.
He showed up late and stayed for 12 minutes. But those 12 minutes changed everything. Son invited Neumann into his SUV for the ride to Trump Tower. Neumann pitched, Son pulled out his iPad and sketched out a $4.4 billion investment right there in the car. Half an hour later, he emailed a photo of the napkin contract. One of the largest startup investments in history, decided in the back of an SUV. Son saw Neumann as the next Steve Jobs. SoftBank lieutenants had serious doubts. Advisors had previously recommended not investing at an $8 billion valuation. But Son overruled them all. He told Neumann to grow faster, worry less about profits, and grab market share. Don't think Amazon, think bigger. With SoftBank's billions pouring in, WeWork went insane with expansion. They opened locations at a rate of multiple buildings per week. They airlifted couches because normal shipping would take too long, even though the couches cost less than the flights. They hosted mandatory summer camp retreats, where employees slept 6 to a room in tents, while Neumann and his wife stayed in luxury trailers on a hill overlooking everyone. And Neumann, he was living like a rock star. WeWork bought him a $63 million Gulfstream G650 jet. On one flight to Israel, Neumann and his entourage smoked so much marijuana that flight attendants had to put on oxygen masks. The crew found a cereal box stuffed with weed after landing. The jet's owner, terrified of international drug trafficking charges, recalled the plane and made Neumann find his own way back to New York. His favorite tequila was Don Julio 1942, and WeWork offices worldwide kept it stocked. He'd show up to morning property tours reeking of marijuana and insist brokers take tequila shots before 10 a.m. At one 2015 party celebrating a $10 billion valuation, Neumann threw a bottle of tequila through a glass wall in his office. Employees followed suit until the entire wall was destroyed. In 2016, after laying off 7% of staff, Neumann held a somber meeting explaining the cuts. Then, employees carrying trays of tequila shots entered the room, followed by Run DMC performing a concert while people were still processing their colleagues getting fired. But behind the parties, something darker was happening. Neumann was personally profiting from WeWork. He'd buy buildings personally, then lease them back to WeWork at inflated rates. He trademarked the word "we" through a private company, then sold it to WeWork for $5.9 million. He sold $700 million of his own WeWork stock before the IPO. By January 2019, SoftBank had pushed WeWork's valuation to $47 billion. Investment banks said they could IPO at $60 to $100 billion. Everything seemed unstoppable. Then WeWork filed its S1 IPO prospectus in August 2019, and the world finally saw reality. The S1 revealed breathtaking losses. WeWork lost $1.9 billion in 2018 on $1.8 billion in revenue. They had $47 billion in future lease obligations, but only $4 billion in commitments from tenants. The corporate governance was a nightmare. Neumann had 20 times the voting power of regular shareholders. His wife Rebecca was chief brand officer and would help choose his successor if he died. The board was all male, mostly insiders with financial ties to Neumann. Investors revolted. Professor Scott Galloway called it WTF. The valuation crashed from $47 billion to $20 billion, then $15 billion, then $10 billion, all in weeks. On the Sunday before the IPO roadshow, Neumann spent the entire day filming promotional videos while downing tequila shots instead of meeting with bankers. On September 17th, 2019, WeWork withdrew its IPO. The valuation had imploded to $8 billion. SoftBank forced Neumann out as CEO. After all the chaos, after burning through billions, after the tequila and private jets and marijuana-filled cereal boxes, Adam Neumann walked away with a $1.7 billion exit package. Meanwhile, SoftBank was left holding the bag. They'd invested over $18 billion. Son later admitted publicly he'd been foolish. By May 2020, they'd written WeWork's value down to $2.9 billion, a 94% collapse from peak. SoftBank's reputation as a shrewd investor was permanently damaged. WeWork stumbled forward, going public via SPAC merger in 2021 at $9 billion. But the COVID pandemic destroyed demand for office space. On November 6th, 2023, WeWork filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Here's the wildest part. Adam Neumann tried to buy WeWork back in 2024 during bankruptcy. The man who'd run it into the ground wanted another shot. The deal was abandoned, but Neumann's already moved on. He raised $350 million for a new startup called Flow, which is, wait for it, a real estate company. Masayoshi Son lost $11.5 billion on WeWork alone. Thousands of employees lost their jobs. Landlords got stuck with empty buildings. SoftBank's aggressive growth at all costs strategy influenced an entire generation of startups to prioritize scale over profitability, inflating valuations worldwide, and setting up countless other failures. Adam Neumann pulled off one of history's greatest cons. He convinced the world's most sophisticated investors that subletting office space was revolutionary technology. He partied his way through billions of dollars of other people's money. He broke every rule of corporate governance and still walked away a billionaire. WeWork wasn't a tech company. It was a real estate company with better marketing and a charismatic conman at the helm who genuinely believed his own hype. And for a brief, insane moment, he convinced everyone else to believe it too. The greatest trick Neumann ever pulled wasn't building WeWork. It was convincing Masayoshi Son that a guy smoking weed on private jets while doing tequila shots at 9 a.m. was the next Steve Jobs. That's not disruption, that's delusion. And it cost SoftBank $11.5 billion to learn the difference. Speaking of business strategies that seem too good to be true, click this video now to see another company with a fascinating approach. I'll see you there.